He thought it was just in his head, until it spoke. The night my son stopped sleeping. Chapter 1. A Father's Logic. I've never been the kind of man who scares easily. I work in IT. My job revolves around diagnosing problems and fixing them. Glitches have causes. Errors have explanations. If something goes wrong, you find the source, you patch it, you move on. That mindset, cold, rational, methodical, has shaped the way I look at life. Ghost stories, monsters, curses, those were things for late-night campfires or overdramatic horror movies. I never entertained them as reality. I think that's part of why what happened shook me so deeply, because I went into it believing I could explain it away. The life we knew before. It was early October when things began, and up until then, life in our home was easy, stable, predictable in all the ways I liked. My wife, Emma, and I had been married 11 years. Our son, Caleb, had just turned 8, thin build, quick smile, restless hands. We'd been in our 2-story house in Brookfield, Ohio for almost 3 years. The kind of neighborhood where people mow their lawns at the same time on Saturdays, and where kids still ride their bikes in packs until the streetlights come on. Our home was modest, cream siding, a sloping driveway, a maple tree in the front yard that exploded into gold and red every autumn. Inside, the floors creaked in a few places, the banister wobbled slightly, and the upstairs bathroom fan sounded like a dying cicada. But it was ours. Caleb's room was on the 2nd floor, just to the left of the top of the stairs. Sky blue walls, glow-in-the-dark stars scattered across the ceiling. A framed poster of a rocket launch above his bed. The far corner had his closet, with stiff sliding doors that sometimes caught on their track. It was a safe space. His space. And for years, nothing ever disturbed it. The first unsettling night. It was a Tuesday. The air had that first crisp bite of autumn, and the faint smell of burning leaves drifted in from somewhere down the street. Emma had gone to bed early with a headache, and I'd stayed downstairs in the living room, the TV volume low, so I wouldn't wake her. I was half watching an old Schwarzenegger movie and half scrolling through my phone when I heard them. Footsteps. They came from upstairs. Light, quick, uneven steps like someone moving with purpose but not running. At first, I thought it was Emma, maybe getting some water. But the pattern wasn't right, too light for her, not heavy enough for me. I muted the TV and listened. The footsteps stopped. I called up the stairs. Caleb, you awake? No answer. I climbed the steps slowly, the wood under my feet groaning in protest. At the top, the hallway was dim, lit only by the faint spill from Caleb's nightlight under his door. I knocked gently and opened it. He was sitting upright in bed, hugging his stuffed dog Max so tightly the seams looked strained. His eyes weren't on me. They were fixed on the far corner of the room. "What's wrong, buddy?" I asked. "There's a man in my room," he said without looking at me. That made my skin prickle. I followed his gaze. Just shadows. I checked the closet, the window, even looked under the bed. "Nothing here," I said, keeping my voice calm. "Probably just a dream." But Caleb didn't blink. He kept staring into that corner like I wasn't even there. The second night, closer. Wednesday night, I woke up around 1:15 a.m. to the sound of movement in the hallway. I sat up and saw a shape, small, pajama-clad, standing in the dark. "Caleb," I whispered. He stepped into the faint light from the bathroom nightlight. His face was pale, his voice flat. He was closer tonight. A cold knot formed in my stomach. "Who?" "The man." I took him back to his room, checked every inch again, and left the door open wide with the hallway light blazing. But he didn't sleep the rest of the night. The third night, the tapping. By Friday, Caleb looked exhausted, dark smudges under his eyes. He barely touched his cereal at breakfast. Emma was starting to worry. That night, I woke at 3:03 a.m. to a faint tap, tap, tap. It was deliberate, steady. I followed it to Caleb's room. He was curled under the covers, eyes wide. "You hear it too?" he whispered. I nodded. The sound was coming from the corner, slow, patient tapping, like fingernails on the wall. The moment I flicked the light on, it stopped. I told myself it was the house settling. But deep down, I knew better. Daytime unease. Saturday morning, Caleb's Lego rocket was in pieces on the floor. He swore he hadn't touched it. Later, I found his closet door cracked open, though I remembered shutting it tight. The air in his room felt wrong, cooler than the rest of the house, like standing in a shaded alley, even with the sun shining through the window. Sleeping in his room. That night, I decided to sleep in there with him. Emma thought I was just being a sweet dad. Truth was, I wanted proof of whatever was happening. I unrolled a sleeping bag beside his bed. At first, the nightlight's soft glow and Caleb's breathing lulled me. But sometime after midnight, I woke. He was sitting up, staring at the corner. "He's here," he whispered. The air felt heavy, pressing down on me. I stared into the dark, and for a heartbeat, I swore I saw something move. So slow, I almost doubted it. The breaking point. Sunday, 3:17 a.m., Caleb screamed. A sound so raw it shot me upright and sent my pulse in overdrive. I ran in, and he was pressed against the headboard, pointing. He's smiling at me. I turned and saw it. Tall, unnaturally thin, head tilted too far to one side. No eyes, no mouth, yet I could feel the smile like it was somehow inside my mind. It didn't move, didn't fade. It just watched. Then it was gone. Aftermath. Caleb hasn't slept in his room since. He stays in ours now. And sometimes, usually around 3 a.m., I wake to find him sitting up, staring at the dark corner of our room, and smiling. The neighbor who wasn't supposed to be there. Chapter 1. The new house across the street. I've always been the kind of man who notices things other people miss. Not in a paranoid way. At least, that's what I used to tell myself. I just observe. When you've lived on the same street for 15 years, you get to know the rhythms of the place. Who leaves for work early? Which families walk their dogs after dinner? Even the squeak of the Henderson kids' bikes as they race home before dark. So when the for sale sign went up on the old Peterson place, I noticed immediately. And when it came down a few weeks later, without ever seeing a moving truck arrive, I noticed that too. The first sighting. It was late on a Wednesday afternoon. One of those gray autumn days where the sky feels heavy and the air smells faintly of rain. I was raking leaves when I saw movement in the Petersons' upstairs window. A man, tall, shoulders slightly hunched, just standing there, looking down at the street. His face was pale, almost gray, and his clothes, if I'm remembering right, looked a little out of style, like something from the 90s. He didn't wave, didn't even seem curious that I'd spotted him, just stared, head tilted slightly to the left. When I blinked, he was gone. No one moved in. The next day, I mentioned it to Emma over breakfast. She frowned. "Realtor said the place is still empty," she said. I checked again that afternoon. No car in the driveway. No lights on. The mailbox overflowed with junk mail. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was in there. The second encounter. Friday night, after dinner, I took the trash out. The street was quiet. My breath puffed, white in the cold. When I turned to head back inside, I saw him again. This time, he was standing at the bottom of the Petersons' front steps. Closer now. Same tilted head. Same clothes. It wasn't the way he looked that bothered me. It was the stillness. Not a twitch. Not a breath. Like a wax figure planted in the yard. I wanted to call out, but something in my gut told me not to. When I blinked, he was gone again. Checking the house. The next morning, I couldn't stand it anymore. I crossed the street and walked up to the Petersons' porch. The air felt colder there, like stepping into the shadow of a building even though the sun was out. I cupped my hands to the front window. The house was bare inside, just dust and faint outlines where furniture had been. But the smell, faint, almost metallic. Like blood. The third night, the knock. Saturday, around 2:12 a.m., I woke to a sound. 3 knocks. Slow. Heavy. They came from my front door. I got up, heart pounding, and checked through the peephole. The street light across the road flickered, casting the Petersons' house in shifting shadow. And on my porch, standing just a few feet away, was the man, closer than ever. He tilted his head the other way this time. And then, he smiled. I didn't open the door. Didn't move. Just stood there, my breath fogging the glass. After what felt like minutes, he turned and walked away, straight into the Petersons' yard, and disappeared before reaching the porch. Talking to the realtor. On Monday, I tracked down the realtor's number. She insisted no one had been in the house since the last showing. When I told her what I'd seen, there was a pause. "You're not the first to say that," she admitted. Then, almost as if she regretted it, she hung up. The final night. A week later, I woke again at 2:12 a.m., as if some unseen alarm had gone off. I didn't hear knocking this time. Instead, there was a faint scrape at my bedroom window. I turned my head slowly, and he was there, not outside on the lawn, not in the street, inside. Half his body seemed wrong, like it was pressed too flat against the glass without breaking it. His mouth was wide open now, but not in a smile, more like he was stretching it to fit something through. Something cold brushed my face. I blacked out. Aftermath. When I woke, it was morning. Emma was downstairs making coffee. I looked out the window. The Petersons' house was empty again. The for sale sign was back up. And that night, for the first time in years, I closed all the blinds and locked our bedroom door. Because sometimes, I swear when the house is quiet, I hear 3 slow knocks.